Welcome to the CURES Show, where we explore wellness with our mind, body, and spirit. Well, so many illnesses from ticks like Lyme disease have actually more than doubled in the U.S. in the past 20 years, with as many as 500,000 Americans diagnosed annually. But so many times the diseases are missed, or sometimes people don't make a full recovery. I'm Kara Sundlin, and today in CURES, naturopathic Dr. Artemis Morris is here because she wants to teach us about an integrative medical approach. Also, what saved her from chronic Lyme disease symptoms when it was actually missed by her first doctor. And interesting, because you are a doctor. I think everyone always thinks doctors could just heal themselves, but you have your own doctors too.
We are humans too, yes.
Okay. Thank you for being here with us, especially I know here in Connecticut, and it's probably everywhere, but here in Connecticut, ticks are really, really worrisome, especially for our kids. We're worried about that. But even, you know, I know so many folks who are still recovering with fatigue and whatnot that hasn't gone away after Lyme disease.
Yeah, it's true. 15 to 35% of people, even after getting an antibiotic, can still get chronic Lyme disease. And the problem is that a lot of doctors miss the tick-borne illnesses. So it's not just Lyme disease we get from that tick, it's anaplasmosis, which is the one that I had. It's babesia, it's ehrlichiosis. So there's viruses, there's bacteria, there are parasites that you can get from ticks.
And it might not show up with a conventional test. For you, it did show up after you had an integrative doctor order what?
So I had them order a tick-borne panel. So, you know, I went into a walk-in, they did what's called like a Western blot. And that's the quick and easy test for Lyme, and it comes in a couple of days. But that was negative. And then when the symptoms came back a week later, and they were horrible. It was fatigue, I couldn't hardly walk. It was, I had some fevers, I had joint pain. I couldn't work for that month. And so when those came back, I consulted with Dr. Sylvia in my practice and my friend Krista at WAVE, who has a tick-borne illness clinic. And they both were like, this definitely sounds like a tick-borne illness. So they ordered the testing, the ehrlichiosis, the babiosis, what's called co-infection. So that's what you want to ask your doctor for. Ask them if they could test also for these co-infections, because if it wasn't for them, I never would have gotten a conventional antibiotic for it. And so I just did herbs until they finally got the results in.
Okay, so then the results showed you did have a tick-borne illness. You got the antibiotic, but this is where it's a nice match. You don't have to just take the antibiotic. Sometimes people do that, and that's great. You did that. However, adding in some of these other things like the herbs and the vitamins could make sure you make a full recovery.
Absolutely. And for me, in my case, because I was not diagnosed by my doctor initially, they would have missed it if they didn't, you know, if I didn't have my integrative team to do the testing to say that, yes, you do need an antibiotic. So I was just taking the herbs, and I recovered on them alone in the beginning because I wasn't given the antibiotics early on.
So you were taking the herbs, why? Because you were just trying to treat your symptoms, and because you're a naturopathic doctor, you knew, well, I have joint pain, I should take this, or I might have something, I don't know what it is, I should take this.
Yeah, so these herbs, and so many of these are the ones that I took, were recommended by my naturopath and my integrative practitioner. And the things that I know about, a lot of these, I mean, garlic, oregano, but I was on my foundational 4, you know, the multivitamin D, the probiotic fish oil we talk about. And then I also added in the recommendations like Artemisia, which was named, it's a name because it is named after the Greek goddess of the hunt and nature. And a lot of plants are called Artemisia.
This one? Okay, yeah, Artemis plus.
Annua.
Okay. And so your name is Artemis, but so this is, what is Artemisia, and what would we use it for? Like if you just suspect that you're not feeling well and you could have a tick-borne illness, would you just start taking this?
It is perfectly safe to take because it's an antibacterial, antiviral. It's actually, this particular herb is used by the World Health Organization for malaria too.
Oh.
So it's a really great herb. It's used in Chinese medicine as well, but really great studies on, you know, I would start eating a lot of garlic if you did not have that test at home yet and you didn't get an answer from your conventional team, then definitely start the garlic, start eating some more oregano. It certainly would not hurt.
Doesn't hurt. And let's just for a moment pause on the garlic and the oregano. This is also for COVID. I know when I had COVID, you told me we didn't have any treatments. It was a virus at the time. I had the nasty one in the beginning before vaccines. And I was eating a lot of garlic just to help recover. But garlic is a natural antiviral.
It's an antibacterial and antiviral, so and antiparasitic. So it hits all of those areas, all of the different types of bugs you can get.
And you told me to eat it raw, which I was fine to do, but I remember you said for my kids, if I needed to, because they also had COVID, just to put slice it up and put it in between apple slices, and you wouldn't really notice it.
Yeah, well, what you want to do, though, instead of doing it completely raw, actually you want to crush it first and let it sit.
Crush it, yeah. I did crush it because I had a mincer, but okay. So, but cooked garlic is good, but actually it's stronger if we have it raw?
It depends. We really want to get those enzymes activated. So the raw garlic can work well, but you want to make sure that it's at least crushed and sits for a little while so that you activate the enzymes. And so definitely, I mean, you can take it in food as well, but you're going to get like a big bang for your buck there if you eat it in combination with something that takes the edge off. But you definitely want to crush it first.
Okay, so how much?
So with garlic, it depends on what you can do because there's something called a Herxheimer reaction. I know that's a funny word. We're talking about a lot of funny words today, you know, ehrlichiosis, babiosis, but Herxheimer reaction is like when you kill off the bugs too much and you actually can feel worse before you feel better. So this is where an integrative practitioner, a naturopath can really help you decide, you know, even for something like yeast or bacteria, you know, how you kill it off, but you might feel worse before you feel better.
Yeah. So, but just in general, if you're starting to get sick or you think you might have Lyme or something like that, or a tick-borne illness, and you want to incorporate garlic, is it 2 cloves, 4 cloves, 6 cloves? I don't know.
I would start with one. Start with at least 1 clove a day. And this is why I think this is where the Mediterranean diet comes in also and shines. Because
they live forever there because they're just eating garlic and olive oil all the time.
Killing bugs every day. Yes, definitely.
And oregano, I've heard of oregano. In fact, I have oregano pills, which I keep from doing this show for so long. It's really great when you start to get a cold. But same thing, you could, even if you want to, you could take oregano pills instead of real oregano?
You can, and the oregano essential oil, so I actually brought in oregano essential oil that I got from Crete, and Crete has one of the strongest forms of oregano, so you definitely want to get, you know, I brought this oregano from my garden, but oregano from Crete is highly concentrated, this one here, for its antibacterial, antiviral properties, and that's why whenever I go to Crete, I bring back the oregano, I put it on my food. But it also is really good for helping to prevent the ticks because one thing we think, we're like, oh, we'll just spray them in our lawn. It actually does not work to reduce the risk of Lyme disease if you spray your lawn. So that's what a CDC study showed. So you really want to have the natural remedies.
Okay, so how would you use essential oil? I think most people are confused about this other than putting in a diffuser.
Yeah, so essential oils, you know, you want to talk to an integrative practitioner to use them internally. So I did teach a class on aromatherapy. That is for nurses. So for holistic nursing, there's a course in that. But when you use it internally, you want to make sure you're getting the right form and know what you're doing. And that's one of the ways that you can kill bacteria, viruses internally, but that's really for
What did you take then? I mean, I know you want to talk to us. Some people might not be able to get an appointment right away or whatever, but are you safe to put a few drops of this in water, or how would you do this?
If it's a good quality essential oil, organic, you know, where it's, you know, 1 drop, just 1 drop to start in a cup.
Okay.
But you really want to be careful because you want to make sure that you know what you're doing, and you can get some good ones on.
And they also have oregano capsules. They have garlic capsules. Does that work?
Yes, the garlic capsules are great, and I actually brought one from Bioimmersion.
Okay, Bioimmersion. So this is a brand that people can look for online and buy. And I know you sell a lot of supplements. You pick your favorites at artemiswellnesscenter.com. Which is based here in Connecticut, but anyone can order. But this is Bioimmersion Forward-Thinking Garlic. So how would you take this?
So this would be like 1 capsule, like 3 times a day. And the good thing about the capsule form, rather than, I know you braved the raw garlic after you crushed it, but this works just as well, if not better, because it has the active form of garlic in the capsule. So, and you know, some people get repeat on it, but this would be a good way to do it. is to take the capsule.
Especially if you don't love it, then.
Yeah.
And kids too, just give them a capsule.
Yeah, well, kids, you want to do half dose.
Half
It depends
dose, okay.
on how old they are. But with kids too, the garlic in the food, the oregano in the food, and then another one of my favorite ones, besides the Artemisia, of course, is Japanese knotweed. It's actually an invasive, and it grows wild all over Connecticut and all over the East Coast, and it has been shown to be effective against Lyme and tick-borne illnesses.
Taking it as a prophylactic, like before or after you think you have it?
What's cool about Japanese knotweed, it's also high in resveratrol. So I did bring one of the products that you can get on my full script link, and that is high. Resveratrol is an antioxidant. So I'll pinch off some of the Japanese knotweed and eat it when I'm going for my walk. You really want to make sure you know what you're picking before you do it.
Which one is the supplement if people are feeling a little more careful about? Okay, so resveratrol, this is made by Gaia, which Gaia you'll find at Whole Foods. I know it's also a great company that you appreciate, and you can order online too, but Gaia Pro, resveratrol 150, heart and immune support. So Japanese knotweed root extracts. This says serving size 2 capsules. Is that where you would start?
Yeah, that's a good place to start. And then Japanese knotweed is a traditional medicine you can use for many things. Because, the problem, Kara, and this is why I really appreciate you having me on talking about it, is, you can get chronic joint pain. It can lead to disability if you don't get diagnosed and if you don't get treated. And many people, the joint pain that's possible from these tick-borne illnesses includes permanent joint damage. And so I'm wondering how many of your viewers might have joint pain, might have
and don't know that
fevers.
it's a leftover quote unquote senior Lyme disease. I've also interviewed people who've been very, very sick, were even misdiagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and found out it was an old Lyme infection.
Yes.
So you can heal from this.
You can, but you really need that integrative approach, because the conventional docs, they, that are Lyme literate, that get the right testing, can prescribe the antibiotics, but you need an integrative approach to get the right supplements, to understand what herbs are going to be best, the diet to really help with that chronic Lyme, and the chronic, the anaplasmosis or any of these other tick-borne illnesses, which are not easily tested. You can miss them. It takes 3 weeks to get them back.
So now, okay, here you are, a doctor yourself. You're a naturopathic doctor from Greece. You know all about this stuff, but yet you were disabled to the point you couldn't work for a month. How are you feeling now after this protocol of both? You took the antibiotics, but you also added in these.
Yeah, it really gave me, any kind of illness I feel is a wake-up call. And it definitely made me even more Lyme literate as a physician. And so I'm, my radar for testing for Lyme and tick-borne illnesses, we have some wonderful tests that we do at Artemis Wellness Center, like through Vibrant Wellness, that we can look at all these co-infections. So I'm definitely much more aware of that. And the fact that I actually was healed on the natural herbs and supplements.
Yep.
Before my doctor got the test back that showed that I, in fact, did have anaplasmosis, which is a tick-borne illness. And then I got the antibiotics, over a month later, because it can take 3 to 30 days for even, the symptoms to show up. So it could have even been longer.
Yeah, okay. So you took the antibiotic anyway because antibiotics are important with this sort of infection? Yeah,
this is the kind of illness that you don't want to mess with. You absolutely want to take an antibiotic. And it's great when doctors can notice the symptoms. I didn't have a rash. Some people have the rash, they have the bullseye. I had no rash. And I'm outside in the woods all the time. But if you don't have a rash, you just have this chronic joint pain, the fatigue. It could be Lyme, and so you really want to, push for the right testing.
So yeah, let's talk about the symptoms. I think a lot of people don't know a lot about Lyme, and even though it started right here in Lyme, Connecticut, whether it be Lyme or some of these other tick-borne illnesses, what are some of the symptoms that we need to be aware of?
So the first one is extreme fatigue. So you'll have, the fatigue to the point where you can't really do much, and then the joint pain is part of it, fever, chills, headaches, like really bad headaches, neck stiffness. And, I literally was in bed for 3 days, and then I went back to bed a week or so later after my symptoms came back. And that's when, if you have these symptoms and they come back, then you really need to see a Lyme literate doctor and an integrative practitioner.
How do you find a Lyme literate doctor? Let me talk about your partner is one, right? And so you could, if you're in Connecticut, Artemis Wellness Center in Milford, you would go to someone. But how do we know if someone is Lyme literate?
So that's a great question. And I think if you interview your doctor and say, you know, what do you do for Lyme disease or tick-borne illnesses, you can always ask, say, you know, talk to your doctor, say, these are my symptoms, you know, can you test me for co-infections? And if they can't, then you really want to go to someone who can.
Okay.
Like at Artemis Wellness Center, we do that. WAVE does it. We have a
What's WAVE?
WAVE is an integrative, Krista owns it, and it's a great center. She's one of the people I consulted
WAVE
with.
is here in Connecticut?
Yeah, it's WAVE here in Connecticut.
And the doctor that you mentioned is part of your practice who's Lyme literate, what's her name?
Dr. Sylvia Semoch. Yeah, so she helped me out with the Lyme testing.
Okay, just want to, you know, in case people are looking, but so the CDC shows that about 1 out of every 4 Lyme disease cases reported is left untreated. If left untreated, it could be permanent damage.
Yes.
You don't look at this as permanent damage if you get the right herbs, right? But is there a time frame, like if you missed the boat?
So this is something that we really need to better understand, but absolutely early antibiotic treatment is one of the most important things you can do. So getting a doctor that, you know, like for example, my Lyme test was negative. I didn't get that antibiotic.
Would you just take one just in case? Like, I've heard of that. Some doctors are like, I don't know, sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's not. It's hard to find. Let's just give you the antibiotic just in case. In this case, I know naturopaths aren't huge on taking antibiotics for no reason, but would it be a good case if you thought, I really feel like this is a tick illness, to just take it just in case?
Yeah, and to clarify, naturopathic medicine, you know, herbs, supplements are a part of it, diet, but medication is a part of it. And Lyme disease and tick-borne illnesses, that's an example where first-line defense is an antibiotic.
Yep.
And the fact that, you know, sometimes you might not get that antibiotic, you might get that diagnosis might be missed. That's what happened in my case. It means that you want to have those herbs on hand to start your antibiotic, antibacterial, antiviral, antiparasitic treatment using the herbs and supplements. But really, like some doctors will give you a antibiotic even if before the test comes back positive, because sometimes it doesn't come back positive because it can take 3 weeks for that test to show up positive, and by that time it also could be missed in that way and lead to chronic Lyme.
Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is the other kinds of testing. One thing, just to review, we want to ask, if you're seeing a conventional doc, you say you want to ask for other tick-borne illnesses, a whole panel of any tick-borne illnesses. And if you get the look like, I don't know what that is, or no, we're just doing this, you're saying advocate, you go find someone who really specializes in treating Lyme because they'll know.
Absolutely. So an infectious disease specialist would be one. But like I said, the integrative approach is absolutely necessary because only naturopathic doctors and integrative practitioners and functional practitioners are truly educated in herbs and supplements that are effective. There's a lot of misinformation also all over the internet on Lyme disease, and many of those things that are recommended are not effective. So really getting the right treatment at the right time from the right person is huge.
What's something that you've seen on the internet they're like, no, that's not correct?
Oh my God, chlorine. I've seen some really...
Don't drink chlorine.
No, definitely not. You know, even, you know, a lot of people do colloidal silver, and actually the studies are not supportive of that being effective for Lyme and co-infection. So this is where the herbs like Japanese knotweed, artemisia, garlic, there's huang qi, which is and huang qin, these are Chinese herbal medicine. Scutellaria is also effective. But there's herbs out of Africa, cryptolepsis, so we've got a lot to choose from.
You got a lot to choose from. And I think it's interesting because so many people, in order to understand this, you know, we often end up in an office like yours when we're not getting better from something, when the regular doc gave us something or didn't give us something and we're not getting better, right? So, but most of the world is still using this natural medicine, but it's a lot different than people think, oh, they're just going to tell me to drink tea. That's not it. You're using really high grade herbs in higher quantities to heal people from things like this, where maybe there isn't a good Western medicine?
Yes, that's a really good point, Kara, because 75% of the world still uses herbal medicine as their primary form of medicine, and we forget that because we've got all these wonderful pharmaceuticals we can use. But in the case of Lyme disease and tick-borne illnesses, 5 to 35% or more of people, even when they're treated with the antibiotics, are not getting well and don't get well. And so, we know that some of these herbs and supplements actually work really well on all the forms that these bacteria, viruses, and parasites can take.
If you don't mind sharing, I don't know which one you took or what antibiotic is normally recommended for Lyme or for tick-borne?
So this would be where I would refer out to, my medical doctor or DO, but I was given doxycycline.
Okay.
And so
how long do you usually have to take it for?
So it depends, and this is where, again, a really good Lyme literate physician, it will be able to tell you for your particular condition how long. I took a 10-day course.
Okay.
But as I mentioned, I took the herbs before and they got rid of the symptoms. I just took the antibiotics because you don't want to mess with these tick-borne illnesses because of the risk of chronic debility and joint pain.
Right, because you could end up with neurological disorders, chronic joint pain, things that feel like arthritis, all of that.
Yeah, even heart conditions. There is something called, so in terms of tick-borne illnesses, the neurological issues, like ticks, like some patients that have come to us who have had Lyme and were either underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed, they had like a Bell's palsy or tingling or numbness. Those could be from ticks. That could be a tick-borne illness. Even there's like a cardiac issue, so inflammation of the heart, which can be fatal in some people. It's rare, but there are some very serious consequences of not getting diagnosed and treated properly.
Okay, and of course, you want to always look, I know that's something that we say all the time, if you are going out in the woods, which I know you do on a regular basis, you love your hikes and walking, but you don't want people to stay inside and be afraid, but you want to be checking for ticks.
Absolutely. And this is where the garlic comes in again, because,
we should walk around with just garlic hanging around our neck.
There we go.
Like we're warding off vampires, because these really are little bloodsuckers.
They are bloodsuckers. And so the garlic, maybe that's where the folklore comes from, because the garlic, when you eat garlic, and this is, again, a good pesto or something that has garlic in it, that odor is something that does fend off these bloodsuckers. So whenever I go out, so I'll even take a prophylactic dose of garlic, before I go out gardening for the day, especially in the springtime when the deer ticks are really out in abundance.
Okay, and just to give people a little education here, some of the other, we know Lyme, but there's anaplasmosis, babiosis,
yeah, or lichiosis.
Okay.
Babesia is a parasite.
Powassan virus, which we report on in the news sometimes. That's scary. Rocky Mountain fever.
Yes, and even trichomonas and so there's many different types of illnesses that can be
all from ticks.
Can be transmitted
or mosquitoes.
From ticks. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, just off topic a little bit, but would a lot of this work for West Nile or things from mosquitoes as well, like Triple E?
So absolutely. The great thing about herbs and supplements is, so you think about, when we create a pharmaceutical drug, it's created in a lab, it's based on, phase 3 studies. These herbs and supplements are in nature, and they're being exposed to the same things we are. So, one of the things that's fascinating about garlic is there is no antibiotic resistance to garlic. And part of the problem with spraying for Lyme, or even the antibiotics used for Lyme disease, is that the resistance, we get antibiotic resistance to a lot of these bacteria, viruses, and parasites. So the herbs, the supplements, we see less of that because we're sharing the same environment. And I would love to see more research on that, but I find it fascinating and hopeful that we can share the space and have our medicine in our backyard.
So if you're concerned that you might have a Lyme disease, you're waiting for a test back as we kind of come to the end of this CURES, what would be the top 3 things you would do right now?
So you definitely, want to take a probiotic, because that's one thing, especially if you are put on an antibiotic, that probiotic is going to help preserve your immune system as your gut health. The other thing is definitely the vitamin D.
Yep.
Good studies on that. And then in terms of herbs, like a good garlic, and then either that Artemisia or the Japanese knotweed, those are very effective, and they are wild weeds, literally.
Yep.
Artemisia annua and Japanese knotweed are invasive.
Just going to hold them up again, but those are the kinds. This was, and there's probably different brands, but this one's Artemis Plus Natura. This is the Gaia Pro, but these again, at least taking them as directed, and in your practice. You don't always have to get there. If you're not close to Milford, it might be that you're going to get set up with your Lyme literate doctor, and it's going to be some testing. You just go to your Quest lab, and it's a Zoom call after that.
Absolutely. We do telemedicine, and so we also do specialty testing for Lyme. So we actually have some special tests we can send people for, and then do a Zoom call afterwards. And there's some really great research centers. So there's one that opened up in Southampton in New York, right where Lyme got started,
okay,
that they can call to for some more advice.
Okay. So this is really important, because if you're feeling, and I know actually someone who has suffered with a tick-borne illness and still has some joint pain and issues like that, I think people are resigned to, oh, I have Lyme, or oh, I had this thing 5 years ago. Should they not be? Can they do some of this now and actually make the rest of it go away?
It's never too late to do something to make you feel better. And that's what I love about being a naturopathic doctor, being in integrative medicine. There is always hope, and there's always something that we can do.
So it's never too late. If you're, again, we want to be prophylactic. We can eat our garlic, our oregano, all of that stuff. And then you mentioned the resource of Stony Brook, Southampton, New York Regional Tick-borne Resource Center. That is southampton.stonybrookmedicine.edu. So you can Google some of this stuff. Anything that people should know right here in Connecticut of first line of defense if they need to call or get help for themselves or their kids?
They can go on the CDC website, and then you can see a number of resources, even local at Yale, where you can call for tick-borne illnesses. But I found the research center in New York was very, very helpful as well. But definitely give us a call if anyone has any questions.
Artemis Wellness Center. So you have your Lyme literate doctor there.
Yes, we are Lyme literate.
And I know for functional doctors, people say, how do you find these people on CURES? And of course, I'm lucky that I know some of you, and I try to bring good resources here. But there is a website that you can Google for functional medicine doctors. You put your zip code in, and it starts listing those who are. Sometimes they're MDs who've been double board certified, and they've decided to go back and get their integrative foundations.
Yeah, and the difference is naturopathic doctors are the only general practice trained physicians that learn about herbal medicine and nutrition throughout 4 years medical school. So that's naturopathic.org, for acupuncture, nccaom.org, and then there's functional medicine. But, ask your friend who they saw if they've got good results. Sometimes that's the best thing.
Well, and some people just don't know. They all like, oh, I've got Lyme, and this is how it is. And that's what you want to get this message out is you don't have to do that. There's also, I guess, what is that, 726 Tick?
Yeah, that's the one for the Southampton, which is doing a lot of research on Lyme disease and the tick-borne illnesses.
All right, well, Dr. Artemis Morris from the Artemis Wellness Center in Milford, we're so happy that you're better and that your journey is also helping others. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Kara.
Have a great day, everyone. You can follow me on social media at Kara Sundlin or Dr. Artemis at Dr. Artemis for more information on this. Have a great day and be well.